Welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio, where we bring you conversations with the top business minds on Long Island and around the nation every week. Featuring expert consultants and small business owners who have found success but are also willing to share their top tips, failures, and give gritty, matter-of-fact advice based on their firsthand experience. Now, let's get down to business on Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.
Hello, and welcome to Tower Talk Business Radio. My name is Ray Schwetz, AVP of Business Banking at Jovia Financial Credit Union, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, CEO, keeper of the brand marketing and digital agency.
We're focused on being the premier resource for business and entrepreneurship. We bring you weekly business advice, tips, tools, and services that help you grow your business. Plus, we interview some of the top business leaders in the industry.
I'm very happy today because helping provide us with business empowerment is Lawrence Sprung. He is the founder and wealth advisor at Mitlin Financial Incorporated and the best-selling author of Financial Planning Made Person. What did you do today that brought you joy? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me, Ray and Donyshia.
Larry, we're very psyched to talk with you. There's a lot of misnomers on financial planning, and so I'm thinking you're going to help us clear all that up today.
I hope so. In the short time we have, I hope we can do that. That would be a big win.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so Larry, Lawrence, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're the subject matter expert for finance.
Yeah, so just to give you a little background about myself, I got into this business because of my family upbringing. I grew up in a household that was not wealthy, not poor either, solid middle class in upstate New York, just north of Manhattan. And my mom was diagnosed at the early age of 37 with cancer, and I was 13 years old. And I watched my dad go through everything that the family would go through when somebody has cancer, including the fact that taking care of my mom, he was also had a full-time job as a New York City school teacher. In addition to that, he had a business. He had a side gig before it was called a side gig, but he did. And I watched him trying to keep all these balls in the air. And, I used to watch CNBC. I was interested in the markets, read the Wall Street Journal. And as I got older and entered college, I was like, I wonder if my dad had a financial advisor, because my mom ultimately passed away at the age of 47, day after my 23rd birthday. I was wondering if my dad had a financial advisor, how that might have helped him, how it might have helped him navigate the situation. It wouldn't have mitigated my mom's situation and her health, but it might have made his life a little bit easier, maybe more well-spent time with her. And I started diving down into the profession, and I was like, what a great way to be able to help people and make a living. And now it's turned into much more than that, because we help people through those tough times, but we're also helping people reach for those goals that they're excited to reach, like buying a new house, if retirement's in their future, doing that, sending kids to college. So it's really rewarding and fantastic. And it's something I am energized waking up each day doing.
I love hearing you say that, because it's so funny. Even me as a banker, I went through cancer, and, I didn't even think of approaching a financial planner for help with that situation. But it's true. Really, financial planners are there for everything. So what kind of things do you do that help people through all these, you have the life events, that are ones that you're planning on, you're hoping to do, but also you have the life events that just kind of happen. So what are the things that you do to help folks with that?
Yeah, I'll give you a very tangible example, which I talk about in my book, Financial Planning Made Personal. We had a family that we had worked with that was planning on retiring, within the next 5 years. And we had put a plan in place. We had continued to monitor it. They were about a year and a half away from hitting that retirement milestone. The husband and the wife were both planning to retire at roughly the same time so that they can enjoy. And they had certain plans that they were looking to accomplish. And essentially that was all derailed about a year prior to them retiring. The husband unexpectedly had a stroke. Now, thankfully, the stroke was not really that significant. I mean, he's had issues as a result, but when you think of stroke, it wasn't as debilitating. He's still walking around, functioning. He's had a lot of success in healing and getting back to normal. But it was so rewarding when we got messages from the wife saying, "Are we going to be okay?" And she said, I think we are, because of all the work that we've done over the last couple of years putting this plan together. So I feel like we're going to be okay because we're only a year short of where we're going to be. And they were so grateful that we had done all this legwork because she was able to concentrate on his care and not concentrate on how their financial situation was or was going to be, because they had the confidence that they were going to be successful. And long story short, they're in the process. Obviously, the husband's been out on disability because of the stroke, so he hasn't been able to go back to work. The wife had continued to work part-time. She had a very great employer that was very, forgiving and willing to work with her, and she's probably going to be retiring early next year in early 2024. And the point is, she had the comfort level because we did that work of knowing that they'd be okay, which at the end of the day, you probably feel the same way, Ray, going through what you went through. At the end of the day, you really just want to know your family, they're going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, as you were saying that story, I almost applauded at the end of it because I'm like, yes, that's why we do what we do.
Well, let me, speaking to both of you guys that are in finance, so many people out there in this world are scared to pull the curtain back, to let you in. So how do you overcome fear, someone being scared for you to, look at their numbers, the fear of being, someone, being judgmental, and really just allowing them the better understanding that I'm here to help you. It's a no judgment zone, and, we're going to help you get to the next level. So
Donyshia, I think you read my book already, because we talk about this as well in Financial Planning Made Personal. I think as a profession, I can only speak how we handle it, but as a profession, I think you're right. I think many, people in the wealth management profession, they expense shame people. They make them feel uncomfortable about finance, because I think the sense is that if I make them feel uncomfortable, they'll need my services. And that's the complete opposite view we take. In Ray's introduction, the subtitle for Financial Planning Made Personal is, what did you do today that brought you joy? And what we do is we take our planning all from a standpoint of joy. We're not going to expense shame people. If you like getting that $4 or $5 cup of coffee at one of those local places and you get joy out of it, but you budget for it and it's part of your plan and you can afford it, enjoy it. Like my mom didn't have till 65 or 70 to retire and then enjoy life. There are many people out there that don't. So you have to create a fine balance. So you have to create a comfortable situation for people where they can have open and honest conversation. And it doesn't have to be, okay, let's look at what's coming in your household every month. Let's look at what's going out. Whatever the difference is, you got to put that towards retirement, where you're not going to be able to touch that for 20 or 30 years, or maybe 40 years. So I think that we have to kind of flip the script a little bit, and there has to be a balance in terms of being able to live life today at the same time, reaching your goals in the future. And the important thing to doing that is having a financial plan that is personal to you.
Now, with your branding, and I'm noticing today, the Mitlin Money Mindset. So tell us a little bit about what the Mitlin Money Mindset is.
So the Mitlin Money Mindset is our podcast where we usually bring on entrepreneurs who have, I find it incredibly interesting how people make money and how people become an entrepreneur. This week's episode that we released was a refugee from Venezuela who came here, started driving Uber drivers, and now has created two successful businesses as a result. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. So we have entrepreneurs, we have sports personalities and athletes. I'm very involved in the hockey community. I had the owner, John Ledecky of the New York Islanders on the show, had his good friend who is one of the owners of the Seattle Kraken, several NHL, NFL players. And then we have a lot of folks who speak to mental health, because that's something that's very important to me and my family. So it's a real diverse group of people that we have on the show, but it's all about mindset, entrepreneur, and being good people.
What do you feel? I know, again, as a finance person, so there's so many misconceptions that are out there about financial planning. We discussed some of them just before, but what do you feel like the biggest misconceptions about financial planning, and what can we do about changing that?
I think the biggest misconception is rules of thumb. Okay. We always hear if you follow this, or if you do this, or you do that. And it's put out there in terms of that if anybody does this, it's going to work for them and it's going to be successful for them. And that's not true. It's not true. Everybody has a different path. Everybody has a different way of going about things. So the rules of thumbs are good guidelines, but you can't take those as gospel. And I'll give you an example. We were on the phone with a family that we served just the other day, and they have a net worth or assets of about $1.5 million. And she said to me at the meeting, "Are we, according to your other clients, the other families you work with, are we like average, below average, above average?" And I said, "Well, relative to what?" And she said, "Relative to, assets." I was like, "Well, that really doesn't matter." I said, because at the end of the day, your $1.5 million, if we have 3 clients or families that have $1.5 million, but one of them only needs $50,000 a year to live on in retirement, but the other one needs $200,000, that $1.5 million may work for the $50,000, may not work for the $200,000. So it's really personal. So the whole idea is, and back to Donyshia's question earlier, it really has to be personal. We have to, I think one of the other myths is you need to have a plan. Investing and putting money in the market or putting it into CDs with Jovia, that's not financial planning. That's an investment vehicle. You need a plan to dictate it. So forget about the rules of thumb and get a personal plan.
You are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio on the voice of National Community College, 90.3 WHPC. I'm Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, and our guest today is Lawrence Sprung, financial planner, founder, and lead wealth advisor at Mitlin Financial Incorporated, and best-selling author of Financial Planning Made Person. What did you do today that brought you joy?
I'm going to call you the doctor of finance, right?
Well, it's funny that you're calling me that, because everybody asks me, do I call you Lawrence or Larry? And I said, you could call me Larry. My mom named me Lawrence just in case I was a doctor.
We'll call you Dr. Sprung.
Exactly. Dr. Sprung, our doctor of finance here. There's so many people out there that stress. You hit home on mental health, right? And I think, as you said, a lot of your guests are entrepreneurs, whether they're athletes or others, right? So mental stress when it comes to financing and looking at those books. Like, I'm starting to twinge right now. I see the tick going.
You'll be
right?
Okay.
It's closing your books every month and meeting payroll. Like, what advice do you give those people that meet with you?
So you have to have a team in place. We only know so much, and we only know what we know. And I think you have to be open and understand where your knowledge gaps are. And for those knowledge gaps, you have to bring in folks that are going to help you. I'll give you a perfect example. We have an author that we work with, a very successful romance author that has blown up this year in a good way. And essentially we're assisting them and their family, and they really had nothing. And now they're probably going to do about $2 million in revenue this year. Now, when they weren't doing that much, they were able to handle everything on their own. But now their books are not up to date. They don't have a retirement plan in place. So the whole idea here is we're talking to them. They need a bookkeeper. They should not be spending time where they could hire somebody at a fraction of their hourly cost or expense to have somebody do that work. So I think you have to know where your knowledge gaps are and hire for those, because as an entrepreneur, you can't be expected to know everything. You want to know what's going on, but you don't have to know how you got there. So it's just important to hire people that you trust and that can fill in those gaps for you.
Yeah, that's hugely important. We were on a panel recently talking about business needs, and hiring a bookkeeper came up as an example of, hey, look, you can't be owner, operator, bookkeeper, everything. You're setting yourself up for failure unfairly. So I think that's excellent advice. There's a lot of concerns right now. Donyshia, myself, the average people looking at the market, it's a little intimidating, because there's just so much what's the word for it? Turmoil, I guess, is the perfect word for it. And so folks are just very concerned, like, well, what am I doing? Am I on track? Like, how am I going to overcome this? And we know it's cyclical. We know that these situations are very individualistic because it depends on what stage you're at in your life cycle and all that. But what are some of the things that you're seeing, and how are you helping people kind of overcome that anxiety, and also overcome those situations when they look at their retirement, their 401k, or they look at their investments? Like, how are you kind of helping them go through this?
Yeah, so that's a great question, Ray. And, I've been through several iterations of these, if you want to call it choppy markets. I've been in the profession since 1997. So I saw the tech boom and bust, recession of 2000, the financial crisis of 2008, COVID. So I've been through a number, long-term capital back in the 90s. So I've been through a few
times.
Yeah. Interesting times. So, if you look at any point in history, there's always some reason not to do what you should be doing. You could always dig down and find that. I think it comes back to, and where a lot of the anxiety and the angst comes from, is most people have that anxiety and angst because they don't really have a plan. What they have is they have an investment portfolio that they're tying their emotions to, that are going up. As it goes up, hey, that's great. As it goes down, oh, not so great.
Yeah.
So what we, attempt to do with all the families we work with is have a personalized financial plan where it's less important what the investments are doing on a day-to-day basis, and making sure that we're still on track for their long-term goals and objectives. And one of the things that I think gets confusing for people is they try to benchmark their returns to what's going on in the market. Well, the market's up 15%, but I'm only up 10%. But what if your plan only says you need to return 6% a year?
You're ahead of the game, yeah.
Well, maybe you're ahead of the game. So I think that once you have that plan in place and you can start putting those things in perspective, and the other thing we find is families knowing that we're there watching and alongside, shoulder to shoulder with them, is incredibly helpful.
So what is it about your work that brings you joy?
Listen, I get joy every day. And, I know people talk about the grateful journals, and a lot of people write what they're grateful for every morning. What I'm in the habit now is, at the end of the day, I write, what did I do today that brought me joy? So I try to find joy in everything that I do on a daily basis. But I will tell you, there's a couple things. One is I'm a family first guy. My family always comes first. And when I say my family, I mean my immediate family and those families we serve, and those families that are part of Mitlin Financial, that we're all one family. That's one of our core values. Secondly, I gain a lot of joy from working with the families we serve. It's incredibly, joyful to talk with a family and find out, they have a new grandchild, and be able to do that. And to give you a specific example, in the last week or two, we just had a new family join us who is the third generation of one of our existing families. And I gain an incredible amount of joy knowing that we're working with families for 1, 2, and 3 generations. That's hugely impactful and meaningful to me.
And so I want to jump in, and I think that's so generational wealth building is so important, and that's what I'm hearing you share here. But I want to jump back over to the sports aspect for a moment, and that's just because I have a love of sports, and we really want to keep athletes off of a episode of 30 for 30.
Right.
And so with the impact of social media out there, and everything you see. Once you hit on an algorithm of every day someone giving you motivational speech or a video telling you should have an estate and let that manage your home and everything else, how do you help your clients, have the Chad Ochocinco mindset that, I don't have to buy, the big house and the glitzy jewelry. You can buy, a cubic zirconian. How do you keep them, on the straight and narrow?
So it's a hard thing because everybody's getting bombarded from so many different places, especially with social media. And the amazing thing is a lot of the information that's being put out on social media, a lot of it's not correct. Like we saw recently, and one of my recent blog articles was life insurance is not a financial plan.
Yes, I saw that too.
Because there are certain TikTokers that are going out there saying, hey, all you need to do is buy life insurance and you're financially set. You have your financial plan. That is not the case. It's a component of a financial plan, but it's certainly not a financial plan. But going back to what you said, it's tough, right? You have people in a lot of situations who really had nothing, and now they have a great deal. And, again, they have to have joy in the moment, right? Because they earned this. It's not like they did nothing. They invested their entire life into this sport to get them where they are today. So going back to like what I said earlier with finding that happy medium, you have to do the same here. Number one is you need a financial plan. You have to have a design plan. Then you have to have a budget. If some of these things can fit in the budget and you can make them work, great. If you can't, maybe it goes on a wish list for a later date, for maybe when you sign that 10X contract from where you are today. But it can't be just go out and buy everything. And a lot of times, we can act as a gatekeeper in terms of protecting them, because not only are they looking to spend, but family, friends, people that they never met before are asking them for handouts in certain cases, right? So what we tell them to do is tell them that you need to talk to your financial advisor before helping them out. And then we tell them to use us as the, reason why they can't help if it doesn't make sense and they're not convicted to do it. So we will take that blame on ourselves, and that's helpful to them in their situations.
And that's music to my ears, because as a small business owner, I'm like, I have to consult my finance department. I'm sorry, I'll get right back to you. Mm-hmm. And that really helps people out there. And you are listening to Tower Talk Business Radio. Our guest today is Lauren Sprung, financial planner, founder, and lead wealth advisor at Mitlin Financial, and best-selling author of Financial Planning Made Person. What did you do today to bring you joy?
So congratulations, Larry, on being awarded the Investopedia 100 Top Advisors. You've been awarded that now for the past 3 years. Yeah. So obviously you're doing something right.
I hope so. Yeah. So yes, it's been very joyful.
I can imagine. And everything you're telling us, I mean, obviously it's something that you're earning every day. So tell us a little bit about that situation. Like, how did they find you? How did you become recognized? And how has that impacted you in your business, in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so the way Investopedia handles it is they take nominations from really the advisory community. Mm-hmm. And they want to know who is influencing the community, who's uplifting other advisors, who's putting out educational content that's helpful to the general public. So it's really somewhat of a recognition by my peers, more or less. And then they comb through social media, et cetera, to see how we're educating the general public. And education's been a big component of, what we're about as a firm and what I've been about as a person even prior to the firm. I currently have a mentee that I'm working with through the FinServe Foundation. So it's something that's really giving back to the profession has always been important to me. And to be recognized by Investopedia for it has been, incredibly humbling and rewarding. I will say 2022's award was the most meaningful because I was in the top 10 of the top 100 because they only rank the top 10, and then everybody else is within the top 100. So I was in the top 10, and I was number 10, and next to me, number 9, was Ron Carson, who built Carson Wealth Group, which we're a partner firm to, which collectively we serve about 48,000 households and are responsible for about $30 billion in assets. And he built the business from his college dorm room in the 80s to where it is today. So to be recognized in that top 10 and next to him was, an extra joyful year in 2022.
I can imagine. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
And like I said, well earned. And piggybacking on top of that, I mean, that's a huge accomplishment, and maybe that is it. But what is the greatest accomplishment that you feel that you've had as a business owner doing what you do?
Oh, I thought you were going to say just in general, because then I was going to say my wife of 23 years and my two boys.
Smart.
There you go. That's the right answer.
Like I said, family comes first. But
Yes.
I think that the biggest accomplishment is what we've built at Mitlin Financial. I think the fact that we have this community of families that we work with that truly we view as an extension of our family, and hopefully I think they view us as an extension of their family. And then the people that, the stakeholders at Mitlin Financial are part of our family as well. So that community that we've built is really special. And I will tell you, one of the challenges that we have on a go forward basis as we grow and scale Mitlin Financial is going to be maintaining that same level of family values within the organization, where clients equal family equal team.
And can you give us just like one final thought you would like to leave with our audience today?
Yeah, so I think the road to financial independence starts with really one small step, and that's getting started. You have to get started, whether it's with a financial plan, whether it's with starting out an account and starting to save money. But if you're listening to this today and you think you're behind the 8 ball, you're afraid you're never going to make it, it's not true. Just sit down, make that step, start that financial plan, start that investment, and get started today, and don't put it off another minute.
And stay off of Amazon.
Unless you own their stock, then
Right,
that might be helpful.
That's different, of course. And I want you to share with folks, how do we find your podcast?
Yeah, so everything can be found from MitlinFinancial.com, but we do have MitlinMoneyMindset.com as the podcast, and then Financial Planning Made Personal .com is the direct link to the book.
Okay, excellent. So we know where to find the book. We know where to find your podcast. And how do folks get into contact with you personally?
So I'm all over social media, and it seems like that's the easiest way these days. So if you look up Lawrence Sprung on most social media outlets, except for Instagram, I'm Larry Sprung. It was a little bit of a marketing snafu early on, but you can find me there. Or if you just go through the website and you click on the Contact Us button, that will generate your information sent over to us to reach out and give you a call.
Excellent. Larry, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure. You've really shared a lot with us and taught us a lot, and we thank you for that.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'd like to leave you with DB's philosophy. A goal without a plan is just a wish.
We want to thank you for being with us. My name is Ray Schwetz, along with Donyshia Boston Hill, your co-host and producers. Visit nccradio.org for more information. We're available on Odyssey, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as a podcast on iTunes, Android Podcasts, and Speaker. This has been Tower Talk Business Radio, powered by the voice of Nassau Community College, 90.3 WHPC.